We're here to help each other, not hurt each other. And it's a shame that I'm talking about black and brown communities.
Won't you hear? You or your administration. Y'all need to go.
Mayor, you might as well step down too. Because I'm tired of that too. This is a disgrace that you have.
Tiffany Henyard, the mayor of Dalton, Illinois, is once again in the headlines, but this time, it's for all the wrong reasons. Henyard stands accused of misappropriating taxpayer funds, allegedly treating public money as though it were her personal bank account. This has sparked outrage among local residents, who are furious over her lavish and reckless spending, seemingly aimed at personal gain. In response to the growing backlash, Henyard has made audacious claims, suggesting that the attacks on her are rooted in racial bias. She asserts that her critics can't handle her power and influence simply because she is a strong black woman. Despite widespread discontent, she insists that the tension comes from people failing to understand her leadership style. In a dramatic display of defiance, Henyard even called the police during a town meeting in Dalton, further highlighting the growing divide between her and the residents she serves. The controversy has now reached a boiling point, with many residents calling for her removal before the next election, citing what they see as mismanagement and drama during her tenure. Despite the mounting pressure, Henyard remains unwavering. She continues to refer to herself as the super mayor and is confident that she will secure a second term, believing that the public simply misunderstands her approach to leadership. Henyard argues that her strength as a woman of color will ultimately lead to her success. However, with the scandals piling up and public dissatisfaction growing, it remains uncertain whether her steadfast confidence will be enough to overcome the backlash. As the pressure intensifies, her future as mayor is hanging in the balance, and the community continues to push for change.
Aren't there yet? The mayor, not the trustees, that don't do nothing, that only run their mouth.
Just a few days ago, Dalton's trustees uncovered a shocking revelation that has left the town reeling. It was discovered that the life insurance for more than 150 town employees had expired in August 2024 due to missed payments, and no one had noticed until it was too late. As the trustees scrambled to understand how such a significant oversight had occurred, they learned that the town's insurance consultant had informed the village administration about the issue, pointing to Mayor Tiffany Henyard as directly responsible. This discovery was only the latest in a growing list of problems that seemed to lead back to Henyard. When the trustees attempted to confront her about the insurance issue, they were met with a surprising absence. Known for her flamboyant presence at board meetings, often flaunting extravagant wigs and bold fashion, Henyard was nowhere to be found. The trustees left the meeting without answers and attempted to contact her, but received no response. It soon became clear that no payments had been made for the insurance, and Henyard's sudden disappearance only raised more questions. To add to the drama, Henyard later claimed that she would no longer attend any meetings unless additional security was provided for her safety. This only deepened suspicions. Was Henyard avoiding accountability, or was she simply sensing that her time as mayor was quickly running out? Rumors spread that she was considering relocating to Colombia, perhaps to reinvent herself and escape the fallout from her growing list of controversies. Regardless of the reason, Dalton residents were left anxiously awaiting the resolution of the drama. How much longer could Henyard's tenure last? In January, former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot disclosed the findings of an inquiry into Henyard's spending, which revealed even more troubling information about her handling of Dalton's finances. The investigation uncovered a reckless spending trail that demonstrated how Henyard had been using town resources for personal gain. Over $70,000 had been spent on travel to Las Vegas for events supposedly related to economic development, yet no job opportunities or investments had come out of these trips. It seemed that Henyard's lavish lifestyle was being funded by Dalton's already strained budget, with little to show for it. The inquiry also revealed that Henyard had spent over $28,000 on Amazon in a single instance and another $51,000 at local businesses. These expenditures raised questions about the legitimacy of her purchases. However, these were just the tip of the iceberg. One of her biggest purchases was paying $85,000 to hire musicians Jay Holiday and Kay Wyatt to perform at one of her grand celebrations. The extravagance didn't end there. Henyard had also purchased 3 luxury SUVs for her personal use, totaling $374,000. Perhaps most troubling of all was Henyard's approval of $1 million in overtime pay to ensure a constant police presence for her personal security. She also allocated $50,000 of town resources to improve the local skating rink. With each new revelation, it became clearer that Henyard was mismanaging public funds for her own personal benefit, and the community grew more and more concerned about her handling of Dalton's finances. The patience of the community was wearing thin as Henyard's reckless behavior was exposed, alienating the very people who once trusted her to lead. As the cracks in her administration grew wider, it became apparent that Henyard's grip on power was slipping. The trustees and citizens of Dalton were left to pick up the pieces of a town in disarray. With her reckless behavior increasingly under scrutiny, Henyard's future as mayor now seemed uncertain. The questions surrounding her finances and leadership continued to mount, and it seemed that the consequences of her actions would soon catch up with her. If the situation continued to deteriorate, Henyard would likely face the accountability she had worked so hard to avoid. The fallout from her reckless behavior was likely to leave lasting scars on Dalton, and it remained to be seen just how much longer Henyard could hold on to power before the community demanded change.
Intentional effort to shield from the village trustees and the public what the true financial state of the village was. I mean, we see in Mayor Henyard and her key people in her administration just this reckless disregard for governmental norms, spending on whatever she wanted without seeking any kind of budgetary approval, without looking to see whether or not the spending aligned with the budget, just doing whatever she wanted as if she was all-powerful and had no...
Recent findings have turned what were once touted as triumphs into troubling misappropriations in Dalton. Mayor Tiffany Henyard's leadership has come under intense scrutiny as revelations of financial misconduct continue to surface. Municipal lawyer B.T. Adup, who represents Dalton's trustees, expressed disbelief over the persistent revelations. Every time the trustees believe they've uncovered all of Henyard's misdeeds, new information keeps coming to light. Credit card records have revealed shocking expenditures, including a Washington, D.C. trip that cost taxpayers a staggering $9,100. The trip included $5,000 for the U.S. Conference of Mayors, plane tickets for Henyard and her assistant, Keith Freeman, totaling $718, hotel rooms at the Washington Hilton for over $1,000 each, and a $629 rental car. With millions in the bank, the town today is struggling with severe financial issues, yet Henyard claims she has no idea where the money went. Despite board approvals to settle debts, vendors remain unpaid, and residents are growing increasingly vocal about their dissatisfaction with Henyard's leadership. They are demanding answers and questioning how such a large sum of taxpayer money could disappear without any explanation from the mayor. Henyard's response to the growing concerns has been one of defiance. She insists that she owes no apology for her actions, claiming everything she has done was for the good of the people. She remains steadfast in her belief that she will continue down this path after re-election, refusing to back down despite mounting criticism. However, her rhetoric is beginning to lose traction as residents grow more frustrated with her financial mismanagement and lack of accountability. Calls for her removal are intensifying, and a growing movement is pushing for her ouster. Henyard's repeated claims of being a leader for the people are starting to ring hollow as more individuals question her motives and ability to manage the town's finances. The pressure is mounting, and it's becoming clear that Henyard's reign as mayor is under serious threat. While she continues to present herself as an unwavering force for the people, the reality is that many in Dalton are now working to ensure she does not return to office. With her approval ratings sinking and calls for her removal growing louder, Henyard's time as mayor may be quickly running out.
Hey, board approved it. The vendors are not being paid.
How about you be a good leader, bring our keys to the forefront, so not just us, but the residents and everybody else in America.
A recent town hall meeting in Dalton quickly devolved into chaos, with Mayor Tiffany Henyard losing her composure in front of a growingly frustrated crowd. Tensions were already high due to her poor management of the town's affairs, and they reached a boiling point as residents, fed up with her leadership, could no longer hide their disbelief. Henyard's misguided remarks only deepened her position as a leader on the verge of collapse. Rather than addressing the concerns of the public, Henyard dismissed their frustrations, offering nonsensical comments that only fueled the anger in the room. Every word seemed to dig her deeper into a hole, and it was becoming clear that she was alienating the very people she was supposed to serve. As the room simmered with anger, one brave individual stood up and boldly confronted the mayor, refusing to remain silent as Henyard belittled the concerns of the community. His words resonated with many others who shared his frustrations, calling out Henyard for her repeated mistakes, mismanagement of town resources, and refusal to take responsibility. The moment marked a turning point. His challenge to the mayor became a rallying cry for others in the audience. What was initially a lone voice of dissent quickly grew into a collective outcry. The atmosphere shifted dramatically. More residents stood up, voicing their anger and demanding accountability for Henyard's failure to lead. The confrontation united the community in their shared dissatisfaction and desire for change. Henyard, once known for her confident and domineering presence, found herself crumbling under the weight of public disapproval. What should have been an opportunity for Henyard to engage with her critics and perhaps restore some credibility instead turned into a moment of reckoning. It exposed her complete lack of self-awareness and her refusal to accept responsibility for her actions. The meeting ended with no resolutions or steps toward reconciliation, but rather with an overwhelming sense of dissatisfaction and anger. The frustration that had been building for months or even years finally boiled over, and Henyard was forced to confront the undeniable truth. The trust and respect she once had from the town were rapidly eroding. The room that had once been filled with her supporters was now filled with residents demanding change. But the chaos didn't end there. A violent altercation broke out in the back of the room, escalating tensions to new heights. Fists and kicks were thrown, with people jumping on tables and knocking over monitors. At the center of the melee were Henyard and her boyfriend, further embarrassing her in front of the town. The altercation only reinforced the public's belief that Henyard had lost control and could no longer manage even the most basic responsibilities of leadership. What had been a chance to regain trust and perhaps salvage her political career had instead turned into a public spectacle, highlighting her inability to connect with her constituents and handle criticism. As the meeting came to an end and residents began to leave, the damage to Henyard's reputation seemed irreversible. Former supporters were now disillusioned, and calls for her removal from office grew louder. Henyard, once so confident in her position, was now facing the cold reality that her time in office was running out. The fallout from the town hall meeting was swift and significant. Her standing in the community had been shattered, and many residents were now actively organizing to ensure she wouldn't serve another term. What had started as an opportunity to address her failures and regain some ground had instead turned into a public relations disaster. The confrontation at the meeting marked a major turning point in Henyard's leadership. It exposed just how far she had fallen from the person the public once trusted. If Henyard was hoping to salvage her political future, she would need to make dramatic changes. The town's patience had run out, and the message from Dalton's residents was loud and clear: Henyard had failed them. As the dust settled, it became evident that Henyard's leadership marked by mismanagement, deflection, and now violence was no longer tenable. The residents of Dalton were demanding change and were no longer willing to let her failures slide any longer. Calls for her removal are intensifying, and a growing movement is pushing for her ouster. Henyard's repeated claims of being a leader for the people are starting to ring hollow as more individuals question her motives and ability to manage the town's finances. The pressure is mounting, and it's becoming clear that Henyard's reign as mayor is under serious threat. While she continues to present herself as an unwavering force for the people, the reality is that many in Dalton are now working to ensure she does not return to office. With her approval ratings sinking and calls for her removal growing louder, Henyard's time as mayor may be quickly running out.
Happened right after community activists called Tiffany Henyard an expletive. A fight erupting in the back of the room. Fists, kicks, people jumping on top of tables, monitors smashed, with Henyard and her boyfriend in the middle of the melee.
Everything, it was scary, it was horrible. That's an embarrassment.
It should have never come to blows. And
during a recent town hall meeting, Tiffany Henyard completely lost control, escalating tensions and shocking everyone in the room with her behavior. Instead of attempting to defuse the situation when confronted, her response only fueled the chaos. As one individual continued to stand their ground, Henyard's emotional state seemed to spiral out of control. At one point, her wig flew off, her shoes were lost, and she ended up barefoot while physically throwing punches. It was as if the meeting had turned into a reality show, with Henyard's appearance and composure completely falling apart. Her boyfriend, Kamal, did little to help the situation, also losing control and starting fights with anyone who tried to intervene. The meeting quickly descended into a full-on spectacle. Henyard, the supposed leader of Dalton, was throwing punches and acting in a way that was anything but professional. Her continued escalation of the situation, instead of calming down, only made matters worse. Attempts to resolve the issue peacefully were met with violence rather than any sense of decorum. Her actions were completely unbecoming of a public official, showing a total lack of self-control and respect for the position she held. The fallout from the meeting didn't end there. In an unexpected turn, the Democrats in Thornton Township held a caucus for the first time in 30 years and decided to remove Henyard from the ballot for township supervisor. This was a significant blow to Henyard's political career. Unless her supporters managed to have her written onto the ballot, she would no longer be eligible for the position. Given that her tenure as mayor of Dalton had already been marred by controversy, corruption allegations, and her increasingly erratic behavior, this decision marked a major turning point for her. Henyard had long been known for using fear and intimidation to control those around her, making people stumble under her forceful leadership. However, it had become clear that even her supporters were beginning to question her behavior. As her chances of being re-elected as township supervisor grew slimmer, many residents in Dalton felt disrespected and devalued by a leader more focused on control than service. The public had grown fed up with Henyard's antics, and a growing movement to remove her from office entirely had begun to take shape. The developments within the caucus only confirmed what many had already believed: it was time for Henyard to step down. Her actions were not only damaging her reputation but also eroding the trust of the residents she was supposed to serve. The people of Dalton were frustrated and determined not to let her take the township supervisor position. As her erratic behavior and controversial decisions continued to mount, it became increasingly clear that Henyard's time in power might be running out. The writing was on the wall, and unless Henyard could dramatically regain control of her public image and rein in her unprofessional conduct, her political career could be over. The situation had become untenable, and many were pushing for her removal before it was too late. Residents of Dalton and Thornton Township were seeking to reclaim their dignity and trust in leadership, hoping to find a new direction for the community.
We are demanding the leaders that be, the people who we elected, to step up and step in.
In a call to action letter, the village's Board of Trustees called Tuesday night's fight disgraceful.
We cannot let her get back to being a mayor, and we already know she's not going to win that supervisor.
Given the current situation, it's hard to imagine Tiffany Henyard being re-elected as mayor in the upcoming April election. Her series of scandals, ethical missteps, and reckless behavior have left a deep trail of dissatisfaction and frustration in the town of Dalton. Henyard now stands as a clear example of why power should not be held by those who are corrupt, untrustworthy, or dishonorable. It's heartbreaking to see someone in such an important role misusing the trust of the community for personal gain. Her leadership has been defined by deceit, mismanagement, and an utter lack of integrity. The public is acutely aware of her failures, and with mounting pressure, it seems highly unlikely she will secure another term in office. As her political career unravels under the weight of her own mistakes, it's clear that her reckless actions have now become her biggest enemy, and the consequences are becoming unavoidable. When you hold a position of power, losing your dignity is one of the most dangerous things that can happen. Once that trust is gone, it's nearly impossible to regain the respect of those you serve. Tiffany Henyard has lost that dignity, and now she faces the realization that she can no longer rely on her old tactics of fear, manipulation, and arrogance to maintain control. The people of Dalton are growing tired of her behavior, and the community is calling for accountability. Her actions have caused irreparable harm to her reputation, and her chances of holding on to any position of power seem to diminish with every passing day. Her fight to stay relevant was inevitable, given her refusal to accept responsibility for her actions, but now it appears she will finally face some kind of consequence. Whether that results in her actual removal from office remains to be seen, but it's clear that the public has no tolerance for her reckless and unprofessional conduct. As Tiffany Henyard continues to make mistakes, we'll be closely following her story to see how it unfolds. Each misstep she makes only highlights her inability to maintain control, and it seems increasingly likely that her downfall is inevitable. With every public failure, she edges closer to facing the consequences of her actions. This story is far from over, and we'll continue to cover it as it develops. If you want to stay updated on Tiffany Henyard's political struggles, be sure to like and subscribe. The people of Dalton deserve better leadership, and it's becoming clear they're ready for change. It's uncertain whether Henyard will ever fully grasp the weight of her actions, but one thing is clear: she's being closely watched, and her political career is crumbling under the burden of her own mistakes. As this drama continues to unfold, we will be here to report on it every step of the way. Thank you for watching Celeb News, and until we meet again, take care and stay informed. What are your thoughts on Tiffany Henyard's political career? Do you think she will face the consequences she deserves, or will she somehow avoid them? Let us know in the comments below.